From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
All right, welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Greasy Pod Monster Podcast, also known as the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. He's covered in grease, and his name is Sean. Sean, how are you doing today?
If you only knew how literal it was that I was covered in grease just moments ago. But anyways, yeah, I'm good. I saw Tyson beat Spinks on TV.
Well, that's good. You know how to kick a guy in the face then.
A couple times. Yep. Different angles, though.
So.
Yeah.
What have you been watching, Sean? I feel like it's been a couple weeks since we've gone over some what have you been watching stuff. So let's talk about more than one thing this week.
Okay. Well, it's been more than, whatever. I won't even correct you. Anyways, so I watched a movie from 1986. I watched a movie called Body Count. And it's directed by Ruggero Deodato, who probably is most known for directing Cannibal Holocaust. And he directed a little movie called Barbarians with the Barbarian Brothers. And this movie, how do I start? So 15 years ago, before the movie, well, I guess it was in the movie, but anyways, 15 years ago, some youths were killed in the woods and the killer was never found. And then 15 years later, after those youths have been killed, a new set of youths check into the same haunted woods and they keep blaming the shaman. And I will say the only actor that I recognized in this entire movie was Charles Napier, which I don't know if you know him by name. Actually, I recognize two people. Charles Napier, he's probably best known as Murdoch from Rambo 2. And David Hess from Last House on the Left is also in this movie. It's got like some Friday the 13th kind of vibes at first because there's like a masked killer and then it really goes off the rails. Like it just totally goes, it just goes some places. Like it's really incoherent, but it is cool because it takes place in the fall in this forest. You don't get to see a lot of horror movies that take place during the day where you get to see like different colors of the leaves. So that was a nice kind of touch. Like I said, the movie and the ending are really so batshit. I can't really heartily recommend it, but it does have some dirt bike and dickheads. So it's got that going for it. It's got a great theme song by Claudio Simonetti, which I think is how you say his name. It rivals Friday the 13th Part 3's theme. Like it
really?
Yeah. It's like that same
praise.
kind of, it's that same kind of era. It has this disco mix kind of feel to it that I think that's on Tubi. I wouldn't say I recommend it because it's just, but if you're, I guess if you're looking for some crazy kind of horror slasher style Italian movie, you can do a lot worse. I also watched a movie called I'm Going to Be Famous. Sorry. It stars, I think the only person there, I did recognize Stanley Camel, but I couldn't tell you what other stuff he's been in, but it has Dick Sargent from I Dream of Jeannie. He's like the main lead of this movie. It's weird when they roll the credits. Like every person that I think you're supposed to know, all their name is in all caps. And then the people that you don't really recognize are just their first letter of each name is capitalized. It's a weird thing that I noticed. Anyways, this movie, it's about a group of young actors who are auditioning for a play who Dick Sargent is the director of. His character is known as, he actually has a name, but they just call him the director in IMDb. And each of these characters are from a different walk of life. One's a parole officer looking to start his movie career. Another one's like a Nepo baby who's had a chance at, I don't know, like if it's supposed to be Las Vegas or Broadway or something. The next one's like the son of a small town farmer who his dad is the farmer who's expecting him to send money back. And he's like just dead set on becoming famous. And the other one is a male model who is an aspiring actor, but he's also a hustler. He like hustles old ladies. And I think one of the plot points is he's like doing this old lady that knows the director to get him a part in this play or whatever. It's very melodramatic. You can see definitely where it's headed. It's totally telegraphed, but it's got a bit of a shocking final act, the way that they actually handle what happens. So one of the characters, nobody's going to watch this shit. I don't even know if this movie was like if it was direct to video. I don't know if it was like, I think it was a direct to video, But the way that movie ends is one of the characters goes crazy and he like shoots the main female lead of the play. And they're broadcasting for whatever reason, they're broadcasting the end of this play. And the guy goes, he just goes up and shoots her. And he just
As
keeps,
you do.
yeah. And they just keep it on TV and the guy's just being held back. And the reporter comes up, he's like, oh, it's the director's famous play. And he goes up and he puts the microphone on the guy who shot the woman's face. And he's like, why did you do this? Why? And the lady's dying in the background. He just keeps screaming his name over and over again. His parents, his dad, the farmer dad is like, in Farmerville, and he's watching this on TV. And at first he's like, oh, it's my son. He's on TV. Everybody gather around. He's on TV. And then he has this big smile on his face. He's like, oh, he's on TV. He's famous. And then he realizes that he killed his co-star or whatever. And yeah, it doesn't go great. Anyways, yeah, I don't think that one ever hit the theaters. It was straight to video, I think. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is on Apple TV. It just started as of the time of this recording. Widow's Bay. Have you heard of Widow's Bay?
I think I had. Is this their new like horror comedy series that they have out?
It's Matthew Rice.
Someone at work was talking about it today. Basically, they said horror comedy, and then, with all due respect to the person that was talking, I kind of tuned out.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, don't trust you. So it has Matthew Rice, who you may know from Perry Mason, The Americans, a few other things. It's got Stephen Root in the first couple episodes. Only 2 episodes are out. Yeah, 2 episodes are out so far. Matthew Rice is like a skeptical mayor of a small New England island. And one night a fog rolls in and all the superstitious residents of this town that has kind of a storied past, they start talking about this recurring curse that happens on the island. It's a horror series, but it is very funny. Like the way that the characters interact with each other, the things they say. I laughed. Like I just laughed more than I was frightened. I think there was like 1 or 2 jump scares in the first 2 episodes that were like, okay, that you got me. Matthew Rice is great in the show. So it's definitely worth
I feel like a good horror comedy should lean into the comedy more than the horror part with it, because I mean, maybe it's because I'm weird and I'm going to lump you into this category too. Like I find a good horror movie to be comical in general.
Yeah,
like
it can be.
Most of the time, if I'm watching like a slasher movie or something, I'm more likely to be laughing at it than scared of it. So if you're going to do a horror comedy, I almost feel like the comedy has to be right more so than the horror does, because as a horror fan, I'm willing to overlook a lot with the horror side of it. But with the comedy side, like that either works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you're pretty much miserable until it's over.
I think they both hit pretty well. It's got like elements where there's one scene in particular, they're in this writer comes from New York or whatever, and the mayor's been trying to get him into the town for like years to write an article about it, to basically bring tourism to the island. And he's there and he's trying to like shoo away anybody that would have anything bad to say about the town. And the lights start going off and he starts seeing this fog roll in. Matthew Rice starts seeing the fog roll in again. And he's like, he says, I can't remember what it is exactly he says. He's like, you have to go home. We're all going to die. And as soon as he screams that, the lights all come back on. The music starts playing and it's like, oh, like, he just was totally fucking wishes he hadn't said it. Because then everybody in the thing's like, God, this guy's super weird. Like they pretend as if it's it's an anomaly. So I think that's a really great show. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with it. I think it's 8 episodes. I think it's going to go through June. So it's going to be 1 a week. I think 1 week there's 2 episodes. So, there's quite a few episodes coming out.
That actually blew my mind because I just realized we were this close to June.
Yeah, I know. Same. But yeah, that's the 3 things
we just got into this year. So
I know, same. Yeah, but that's the 3 things I got to watch. John, what'd you get a chance to watch? What you been watching, kid?
So I'll start with one that I'm like 100% sure that you've seen. It is a documentary called Electric Boogaloo: The Untold Story of Canon Films. You've seen this, I'm assuming?
I have. Big fan.
So this movie is, I'm sure this came out beforehand, but I'm going to use it as a comparison. It's very much told in the same type of way that they do the In Search of Darkness movies, but way shorter. Like it's basically cutting from title to title and saying, this is what this movie was. This is how it affected, canon for better or for worse and so on. And this movie is an hour and 46 minutes. I would be absolutely happy as a pig in shit if this movie got a full-on In Search of Darkness treatment. We got like 6 hours of this, because I can watch all the people behind the scenes, like the writers, the producers, some of the actors, directors, whatever, going on about how shitty all these productions were. Just like, I made a poster and all of a sudden we had to shoot this script and I had to get a script done in 6 hours, or all these crazy fucking stories. And then it will cut to Golan, who's just like, I don't know, put more tits in it, put some more explosions, just back and forth like that through this entire fucking movie, to the point where they're like, once shit starts getting bad, like once we get into the, I guess, mid to late 80s with the Over the Top and the He-Man stuff, he's like, oh no, just give us some more money, we'll make some more shit. Just, you see pretty early in the movie, like, this isn't gonna work out long term, and just kind of watching the fire burn out of control until it eventually dulls out. It's the kind of documentary, like, I don't feel like I really learned a ton from it. Like, I don't feel like there's anything in it that I couldn't have guessed. I really enjoyed listening to Toby Hooper talk, which kind of surprised me because he seems kind of like a head case most of the time, but he's pretty well spoken in this. It's just a really entertaining documentary about a really like fucked insane film studio that happens to have a lot of movies that we find to be pretty entertaining. So yeah, it was an hour and 45 minutes where I found myself laughing at it as much as any. And I would be surprised if there is a documentary that is not about pornography that has this much TNA in it, because there is like boobs and ass everywhere in this movie, like from start to finish. The other thing that I thought was great, because it's a reoccurring theme throughout the documentary, like if Cannon's trying to make a break-in, they're talking about, we got to get ours to theaters before whatever the competing studio's version of a breakdance movie is. I don't remember the name of it now. I think one of my favorite parts is when they get to the end credits, or like they say something like, we reached out to Golan and Globus to see if they wanted to participate in this. They declined and then made their own film, and it beat us to release by 3 months. I was like, well, now I got to find that and watch that, because yeah, that I'm sure is just as insane as what this is. But that's a high recommend if you like the kind of movies that we talk about on this show, especially from that era, probably from like the late 70s up through the late 80s, that roughly 10-year period. This is a strong recommend for sure. It's an easy way to spend an hour and 45 minutes. I don't know if you remember much of it past that.
It's one of those documentaries where you definitely feel like you could have a notepad next to your couch or next to your computer, wherever you're watching it, and you can write names of shit that you want to see. The other one, the one that they produced, is called The Go-Go Boys, the inside story of Cannon Films. It's not nearly as good, unfortunately. The one that you're talking about, Electric Boogaloo, is a lot. It's like the high bar. So it's almost like you want to watch Go-Go Boys first, because it's kind of the more disappointing one. And then but I loved watching that one. And like I said, jotting notes is like, I got to watch that one. I got to find that one. Where can I see that? There's so many awesome, like, stupid movies that show up, and you're like, yeah, I got to see this.
Yeah. And I got about halfway through it. I was like, man, I should have been taking notes this whole time. I didn't do that. I really should have. And honestly, it's entertaining enough. I might sit through it again just for that purpose, with a notepad and, figure out what I wanted to watch with it. But yeah, strong recommend on that one. The other two that I have, two titles, are newer movies. We'll start with the one that came out this year. I watched The Bride, which came out at the beginning of this year. It is very, very loosely a retelling of The Bride of Frankenstein. It is directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. It is not her, I don't know if this is her first full-length movie, or if she's got like 4 other things on her IMDb that she directed. But to be honest, I didn't look that far into it. I was just like, I didn't know she was directing now. And I clicked on it and it's like, oh, there's more than one title here. Kind of moved on. It's a weird movie. We'll leave it start at that. I don't want to like get into spoiler talk with it, but Christian Bale and Jesse Buckley, whatever, they're both awesome in it as the two leads. Like Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster, they call him Frank in the movie. I mean, it's like they just made him be Batman but like deformed and Frankenstein-y, and it works like really well. Buckley is like eccentric as shit, and she kind of gets on your nerves at certain points of the movie, but I think it's like a character choice. Like it seems like it fits in for the story that they're telling. It looks great. Like there's a lot, it does leave you kind of lacking though. Like for a movie that's 2 hours long, it's like they open up like 5 different storylines to it, and they never really close off any of them in a satisfactory way. So it's like now we're in, again, I'm dancing around it because it's so new. I don't want to like spoil it for people who do want to see it, but it's like, now we're in this part of the movie. Okay, that's been on for 20 minutes. We're going to move on to this part of the movie. What about that part of the movie that seemed more interesting? No, that part of the movie's over. We're moving on to a different genre or different theme for the next 15 to 20 minutes. So it's okay. I definitely can see why. Like, there's some people that went nuts over it. Like, it's kind of got this, like, goth Moulin Rouge meets Bonnie and Clyde feel to it at points, which sounds bizarre, but again, the 2 lead performances are strong enough to say like you should watch it for that, because they're both really good in that. And even though I'm not crazy about this movie, I would, if they gave me a Bride 2 with these 2 in it again, I'd watch it just to see how they keep acting off each other, because they're really good together. But it's gonna, depending on what you want out of a movie, I could see just as many people coming away like this is a piece of shit as saying I absolutely loved it. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, for whatever that's worth, but it's interesting. I don't know that I would run out to a theater to see it if it's even still in theaters. I have no idea at this point, but yeah. And then the other one that I watched was from last year. It's a movie called Marshmallow. It was recommended by Jordana, friend of the show from Pretty Killer Podcast. So Marshmallow is basically, it starts kind of like it's a horror movie set in a summer camp. So that feels familiar and fun. I like that. It's all like kids as far as the actors that are in there. And surprisingly, that's not a negative. Like the kids that are in this movie all do a pretty good job. Like they're not obnoxious. The few times that they are kind of acting like kids, it's like, well, yeah, they're kids. Like that's kind of what they do. So it does good with that. It is a slow burn to start. Like it takes like, it feels like a solid 45 minutes before anything really fucking happens in the movie. But once things do start happening, it gets pretty fun pretty quick. Similar to The Bride, the problem with it is it's got this like identity issue. It's like, again, how far do I want to go in this? It's like, do I want to be this like kind of knockoff slasher movie, or this other kind of monster movie, or this other kind of like paranoia thing? Like once it gets going, it basically flips its big bad like 3 or 4 different times, and it feels kind of disjointed to me as a result of it. But again, I don't know if this is the filmmaker's first movie or not, but like they get a lot right. Like the movie looks great. Again, the performances are pretty good, the camera works good, the sound's good, like all the technical stuff, no complaints there at all. I would have liked a little more gore and that type of stuff in it, considering the type of movie that it is, but they didn't go that route, for better or worse, for whatever reason. It's worth, if you like indie film, it's worth watching. I'd probably give it a half a hot dog if we were doing hot dogs on it, but it's different. It's a little spooky. If you have younger people in the house that you're trying to break into horror or like introduce to horror, it's probably good for that, because it's not over the top gory. It's not over the top terrifying. It's all young person cast, so it's relatable in that sense. But I don't think you're going to see it as like I mean, maybe you'll see it as a cult classic or something like that, but I don't know that you're going to see a lot of people like going too nuts about it, even though it does a lot right.
That poster of that movie always reminds me of The Thing for some reason.
It does. There's actually a lot of scenes in it where they pull back to that shot specifically. And like I said, I was not trying to give away the plot on it on purpose, but
yeah,
there is a in-movie reason why it looks like that, and I think it's not related to The Thing in any way, shape, or form, but I'd be shocked if they weren't going for that look, because it's so recognizable. So
okay, that makes sense.
it's worthwhile. I mean, I think you would like it though. I wouldn't be opposed to telling you to watch it. Again, it's one of those, it's not going to be for everyone type movies, but it's not going to leave you like pissed off either. So that's good.
That's good. Always a good sign.
I don't know. After the last couple weeks, I've been having a hard time with movies that leave me pissed off. So
yeah.
I think that's as good a time as any to take a break and come back and talk about a movie that hopefully won't leave us pissed off. I don't think it will, but we'll find out. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the Jean-Claude Van Damme time travel movie called Timecop.
Never in his life would he wear black silk underwear. Oh, that's not this movie. That's a different one.
Wouldn't do it now, wouldn't do it in 2004, wouldn't do it in 1994, wouldn't do it in the Civil War, none of
the
that
20s.
shit.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Smart man.
All right, be right back. Hey, Sean, what are you doing this afternoon?
I think I'm going to listen to Podcast in the Woods.
That's awesome. Did you know that they're the newest member of the You Run Podcast Network?
I didn't know that. Is that true?
That is true. Have you checked out Podcasts in the Woods before?
I've been on the show. Hell yeah, I've listened to it before.
So have I. And it's always great listening to Boomer and Gabby chat about horror movies, maybe have a beverage or two, and just have a good old time hanging out in the woods, talking about scurry movies.
And sometimes boobs.
And sometimes boobs. Check them out. You can find them now at the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com.
In a world.
Again? Are you still talking about this Patreon thing?
Of course! I'm so excited to talk about all the perks, like early access to each episode and Discord. We have Discord!
Okay, Discord. What else?
You're really going to have to check it out for yourself, because some of it is so amazing I can't even mention it here.
Okay, this Patreon thing says I can be a dirt biking dickhead? Is that supposed to be a good thing?
Of course, of course! If you want to be a dirt biking dickhead, or maybe just a hot dogger, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Dewey Pod Monster for all the details.
I'm going back to bed.
Like we said, we're going to be talking about the movie Timecop, and we're going to start with a third-party review, and I've been bringing two lately, so I brought two again. This first review is from a young lady named G, J-E-E, and she says, told the husband he has control of the TV, 2 out of 5 stars. And then also a lady named Small Elf wrote, I need to start picking better movies. Like the movie, 2 out of 5 stars. So with that in mind, and before we get to Cliff Notes and all that type of stuff, my Cliff Notes are only a line long. Sean, what is the movie Timecop all about?
All right, so for that, we go to IMDb and we put in the word Timecop. It is one word. Don't get it confused with Timecock. It pulls up a movie from 1994. It's an R rating. It's 1 hour and 39 minutes. It gets a 6.0 out of 10 from IMDb on the IMDb rating scale with 70,000 ratings. We go to the thing on the top, never quite sure if it's a storyline or the plot. But Jean-Claude Van Damme told me he would kick me in the face 500 times if I didn't read it when they put it on top. So I'm going to read it. It says, Max Walker, an officer for a security agency that regulates time travel, must fend for his life against a shady politician who's intent on changing the past to control the future. And if we scroll on down to this other thing, I guess it's the storyline. This one comes care of RCS0411 at yahoo.com. Thank you, RCS0411. I think you've written it before. It says, when the ability to travel through time is perfected, the U.S. government forms a new type of law enforcement agency. It's called the Time Enforcement Commission, or TEC. A police officer, Max Walker, is assigned to the security agency, but some men attack him and murder his wife. 10 years later, Max is still grieving his wife's demise, but has become a good agent for the Special Police Force. He tracks down his former partner, Lyle Atwood, who went into the past to make money from the stock market. Max brings him back, but not after telling Max that he was sent by Senator McComb, a corrupt politician who intends to change the past to control the future. However, Senator McComb discovers Walker on his trail, and the real action begins in Walker's own past.
Do you want to hear Cliff Notes first, or do you want to go over cast first?
Hey, let's do Cliff Notes first. Let's hear them.
So my Cliff Notes are super easy on this one. Jean-Claude Van Damme is a time cop in charge of preventing time crime. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I already mentioned Jean-Claude Van Damme,
Yeah.
the muscles from
Spoiler.
Brussels.
Yes.
But is Jean-Claude in this movie, or who else is in this
No,
movie?
actually, he's not in this movie at all. It's a gross instance of false advertisement. No, Jean-Claude Van Damme is actually in this movie. He plays Max Walker.
We've been blessed by replacing Jean-Claude Van Damme with Steven Seagal, which would make Timecop so much more entertaining.
It would make it something. All right, so it has Jean-Claude Van Damme, JCVD. We talked about him in Double Impact, Hard Target, and Bloodsport. He is who Mortal Kombat's Johnny Cage is based off of. We have Sara, who plays Melissa Walker. She was in Legend. She was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. We have Ron Silver, who plays Senator Aaron McComb. He was in the original Semi-Tough movie with Burt Reynolds. He was in Silkwood. He was in Blue Steel. He was in the failed pilot of Heat Vision and Jack, and he was Angelo Dundee in Ali. We have Bruce McGill, who plays Commander Matuzak. He was in Animal House, My Cousin Vinny, Rizzoli and Isles. He was also in Ali, and he's definitely a hey, it's that guy with over 160 acting credits to his name. We have Gloria Rubin, who plays Agent Sarah Fielding. She was in Mr. Robot, ER, and 2022's Firestarter. This movie was directed by Peter Hyams, known for I can't even say my own name, known for the Sean Connery joint Outlander. He was the director of Stay Tuned, a personal favorite, Running Scared, End of Days. I didn't know he directed End of Days, and Sudden Death, starring JCVD. He's done a few other movies too. So yeah, that's who we got in the cast and the directorial person thing.
I love that you said Bruce McGill is absolutely one of those, hey, it's that guy, because when I was watching this, I'm like, God, I know who this guy is. Why can't I think? Yeah, and I looked it up. I'm like, oh, it's D-Day. And then now that I've recognized him as D-Day, I can't call him anything other than D-Day because I was made to watch Animal House a lot as a child.
Yeah.
So we'll do the usual thing. We can kind of go back and forth with stuff that we like, stuff that we don't like, whatever we want to do here. But I'll start us off, and I'll say I really like the premise of this movie. Like what the idea is, the idea that, okay, time travel's been invented, and really early on in the movie, we get a group of politicians / scientists, I guess, that essentially are saying like, hey, we've invented time travel, but we need to police it like right now, because as soon as like someone, you would think it'd be good to go back and kill Hitler or something. But what if they lay out all these scenarios as to what could go wrong with them and so on. Now, that said, I feel like introducing time cops going back to the past could also have the same effect as what they're saying, but they, plot holes aside. Whatever. There's a lot that will be said about this movie over the next like 20 to 30 minutes, but the concept and what the idea is and what they're like the overarching theme is for this movie, I think it's a really good idea. And I mean, this has nothing to do with my opinion of this movie per se, but I'll put it out there now, I'd be on board for either a reboot or like a sequel of some kind to this movie, just because it feels like the kind of movie that with an extra 30 years of technology at this point, you could probably take this concept and make it really fun and expand on it quite a bit.
I'd agree. It should be mentioned, this is based on a comic book. This is a Dark Horse comic from 1992. I think it's like taking the concept from what I read, it doesn't really match any of the stories from the comic. I never read the comic. I'm just kind of going off second hand knowledge, I guess, on that. But I saw this in the theater. I've mentioned several times on all our JCVD episodes, my sister and I were huge fans. I'm sure it was for me because of the karate, the kicking, and my sister was probably because of rippling muscles. And I remember...
Fair enough.
I remember being really mixed on this movie when I saw it initially. Like, I liked the concept, like you said. The thing that I really remember them stating over and over again when I watched it this time, I truly remembered hearing it over and over, was the same matter can't occupy the same space at the same time. They like tell you that about 5 zillion times, and they definitely pay it off at the end. And the way the bad guy like is handled at the end of the movie was just, it looked like shit in 1994. And like you said, I feel like
worse now.
Oh yeah, oh my God, it's so bad. There are so many things in this movie, specifically CGI wise, that could be so tightened up with the advantage of 30 years time in technology and CGI and everything like that. I definitely feel like it could be tightened up. And like you said, reboot, remake. I feel like there have been rumors about this being rebooted or remade or something over the years.
I feel like it too, and I feel like this is arguably like Jean-Claude Van Damme's like most popular, like not mega hit. Like this isn't like Bloodsport territory or something like that, but like if you start talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme, I don't feel like you have to go very far down the list of JCVD movies before someone's going to bring up Timecop.
Yeah, and I feel like this was one of the ones where they really tried to push him as a big star, you know, because he had been in so many movies where he played the guy that was from the French Foreign Legion, or he was an American, but he was from New Orleans, so he had that French accent. And this is like the first big movie, I feel like, that they, like I said, that they pushed him. It was before Street Fighter, so this was one
like right before Street Fighter, isn't it?
Yeah, Street Fighter was 94, later in 94. Timecop was earlier 94, but yeah, this felt like this was like, hey, I'm Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I'm here to make a movie with a budget. And to speak about the budget on this was 27 million. Worldwide gross was 101 million. I feel like the US and Canada gross was like 40 mil, which is not a failure by any means, but I feel like the talk of the time was that this is like, oh, what a failure. It only made this much money. But I mean, you know, by all intents and purposes, it made almost 4 times its budget on the worldwide gross. So can't be that bad.
Well, it's definitely got staying power. Again, you said the word mixed once already, and I feel very strongly mixed about this movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can really deny that this movie has staying power in some sense, because like I said, it's not, I'll tell you right now, it's not my favorite JCVD movie by far, but it is absolutely a movie that if you think, like I said, you don't have to go far down the list before this movie comes up if you're thinking of his titles. As far as some of the other stuff that's in this movie, though, like I love how the cars in 2004 look.
Yes.
Because it basically looks like they took cars from 1994 and just duct taped a bunch of coolers on the outside of them and just like had them go tooling around like that, and maybe made some Jetsons noises at the back of them. Like
no visibility.
They're all like just these ridiculously clunky looking pieces of shit that they're driving around. And they all have these like very rudimentary, like MS-DOS running like tablets in them, where they just kind of like bloop, bleep, bloop on them. And it just tells them where to go. It's, you know, some movies when you look and they show the future, whether it's, you know, 10 years out in the future or way farther out, like you look and you're like, oh, that's really inventive and that's really cool and whatnot. This movie makes very little effort to make the future look futuristic, and I kind of like that about it. So
a lot happens in 10 years in this movie, from 1994, when the movie actually doesn't start in 94. It starts in like a Civil War kind of part where they do some kind of, you know, movie magic to help set up the whole plot. But when we go from like 1994, where the movie kind of kicks off, and then it jumps ahead 10 years to current day, and the car, it's like a lot of technology advanced really quickly in 10 years. I guess I understand, you know, that you're jumping back in time, and I don't know how that would enhance your ability for technology. But the thing that's I find really hilarious about this movie, not only the cars, the fashion, the computers that are in the movie, but like when this movie was made in 1994, we're on the brink of the internet becoming like a major thing. This is just right before most people had access, like even rudimentary access. Maybe you had AOL or something, but you know, they like predict the future in a way. Some of the things that they talk about in this movie, they predict the future, but in some of them they really miss. Like Ron Silver is Macomb, and he's doing this run towards the presidency, and he talks about TV is the most important thing. It's like 2004, dude. In real life, the TV is still important, but it's definitely not the internet.
I kind of hate that because it feels way too close. It almost feels like, God, did someone watch this and take this as a blueprint for how to get elected? Because
there's
a lot that he says that I don't want to put any name out there because I don't want to end up on some list, but there's several points where like, man, that feels like shockingly accurate to the future that we're living in right now, minus the time travel, hopefully. So,
I mean, let's be honest here, John. You're probably already on that list, but the thing, I think one of the direct quotes is, I'm going to show that money can buy the presidency and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, oh, yikes. It cuts a little too close to home. But like, I remember certain things from this movie. I remember the apartment fight where JCVD is in his underwear and the water. Yeah, the water. I remember that split scene directly from that's in the trailer. I'm pretty sure.
I love laughing at that because I'm sorry. I have to put this out there.
Yes,
I love that scene because at that point, the dude with this taser has already like shat the bed on shooting him like 2 or 3 times, like once at point blank range. And now he decides, as JCVD is sitting there in his cotton underwear, not silk.
They're not black either.
He's laying there. Yeah, they're not black. He's just laying there in this puddle. And he decides to like give a mini monologue before he tries to shoot him. Like, dude, he's already gotten the jump on you like several times. Kick the shit out of your like crazy knife dude that was like jumping on tables.
Yeah.
And you decide to give him a warning that you're going to shoot at him. Like, this is not going to end well for you. And
I'm going to shoot you.
It does not. So
I'm going to shoot you. Right. Yeah. And he knocks a water cooler bottle over. So the water floods the floor and the guy's standing in the puddle and he doesn't realize he shoots it and it hits the puddle and, hilarity ensues. But yeah, 1994, rollerbladers were dickheads. So I like that. Sure. I like that scene. That's helpful. I love and I hate, but I ironically love the time warp effects. I think they're amazing. The CGI when they go through the time tunnel, the CGI of their faces like warping and their eyes bulging out and all this shit. The thing that made me wonder is they sit in this car with a 2-person car on a track.
I have questions about that too.
When it hits it hits, I don't know, 87 miles an hour or whatever, and it, how many ever gigawatts, and it goes into the future, or I'm sorry, into the past. So very sorry. They appear without the car, but when they come back, they're back in the car. And I'm like, how the fuck do they do that?
How do they get where the car go and how do they get back?
And how do they have a return track? Like they have a going track, but the car comes out the opposite way when it leaves. Like, do they have to flip the car back over?
And how do they like pick a landing spot? Because it seems like it has degrading quality. As like the first time he time travels, he's like right there in his partner's, whatever his name is, Elton or whatever. He's like in his office right there. Very convenient.
Yeah.
No mess. The next time, like they're dumped in a lake.
Yep.
And then, he at some point he's dumped like right in front of a semi truck with a green screen. But,
yes, a very shittily done
right.
semi truck. Yeah.
Like, so if you're going to just like, shoot these people out, there's people at one point. If you're going to just shoot this thing out from nowhere, how are you deciding where they're like, I guess, appearing in the past?
Yeah.
Why does the car disappear? How do they get back in the car again? And why does it seem to be like such diminishing returns as this movie goes on?
I can understand the last one when he's in front of the semi truck because that's like an emergency procedure.
Yeah, well,
they're just trying to get him out of the present so he can go to the past to like thwart the final thing. But you touched on it earlier with the part about like it's a really cool concept, and I think it's a cool concept that I don't know if I've seen quite done this way. Where like in one scene, JCVD goes to the past. And the present that he leaves from is one way, and when he comes back, it's like from all the events that have happened in the past and all the tampering with time and everything, he comes back to a different present, and they still recognize him as who he is, but all the people have changed and all the shit's like, good thing you came back because we're about to shut this shit down. Why? Oh, because of XYZ. I think that's a really cool concept.
I do like
see much.
I do like when they're in 1994. If you look in the background, there's a lot of signs that say it's 1994 to make sure you're aware that it's 19. I thought that was funny. It's like, hey, just in case you forgot what year it is.
Right.
1994.
He's here. And the other, the last kind of like that I'll mention is this movie hates windows almost as much as Jason Voorhees does. They break, so many people get thrown through windows. They jump through windows. Windows get broken. They're just blatant disregard for windows in this movie. Anywhere that a window exists, it is not safe. It is not safe from JCVD or anybody in this movie. They just smash the shit out of it.
I'll give this movie credit. One, I agree with you, and that's always fun. Fuck those windows. But I'll give this movie credit because I did watch this twice, because I watched it once. I was like, okay, I feel like I'm missing something here. So I watched it a second time, just trying to make sure that Like I knew the overarching story, but like I feel like I'm missing how we got from like the start of this movie to the end of this movie, like a big chunk of the story. And although it's not always the easiest story to follow, because the time travel mechanism is flawed, to put it nicely, and there's a lot of other convoluted shit that goes on in there. But after watching this twice in 1 week, like not putting 20 some odd years between the last time I watched it.
Yeah.
They actually, although they kind of monologue or exposition the shit out of you story-wise, they actually do a pretty good job of taking this insane plot and going full circle with the story. And it's actually kind of tightly written if you follow Silva's character, like his storyline. The whole story makes a ton of sense. If you follow it from JCVD's point of view, it kind of feels like, I mean, I'll put it out there like this. This movie's not great, but it's entertaining enough.
Yeah.
And if you're just watching it, like, this is very much so a movie you can say, I want to watch JCVD kick a bunch of fuckers around for about an hour and a half, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie. I'm going to see this guy kick a bunch of people, and there's going to be a little bit of a plot. Some of it's not going to make a whole lot of sense, but we still have JCVD, and he's still kicking people. You know, he's still going through the motions. There is a storyline. It does go to completion, but yeah, I definitely have a lot of complaints, and they're all just ticky-tack stuff about, at least as far as the plot is concerned. It's very ticky-tack. Is like, okay, what? Okay, how? Why is he doing this? How?
It's asking you to accept
major
a lot.
Disbelief.
Yeah, for sure. Which, I mean, it's a time travel movie, so I guess you have to.
You have to.
But if you compare it to, like, I don't know, Terminator, for example, which, let's just take the sequels out for a second, at least Terminator 1 and 2. A lot of the time travel and the time travel questions, you could break them down and you can, whatever. It feels a lot tighter of a time travel story than what this ever is.
Yeah. Terminator does.
Terminator, yes.
Yeah.
I would say Terminator 2 also. It's Terminator 3 and on where it starts to get a, like, different conversation.
Sure.
But like,
absolutely.
Yeah, they definitely ask you to go to say like, okay, a lot with the time travel mechanic, which for better or worse, with you having to say fuck it to that kind of a lot and just go along with it, because it's such a core part of the movie, it kind of makes you say fuck it, okay, and just go along with the majority of the movie. Yeah,
I agree. And it's funny because a lot of the complaints that I have about this movie, the dislikes that I have, aren't even, like, most of them aren't even time travel related. It's not like the paradox stuff. It's not anything where it's like, well, how did he do this? How did this happen? XYZ. Like, I think for me, things like the trope of I get shot, a character gets shot, and he has to reveal, like, the trope of he has to open his shirt to show you it's a bulletproof vest. It's like, I understand why you have to do that, but it's become, we should just find all the movies that we remember that have that in it and just make a supercut of all the things, because it would probably go on for hours.
Be like 10 minutes just to Scream 3.
It could be its own movie. Like, that's how it is. I think it's a travesty that we have to wait to 20 minutes and 15 seconds of this movie to see JCVD do his first split. That's bullshit. That's just fucking pure unacceptable bullshit to me. We mentioned it's very quaint that in 1994 they thought they would need some elaborate plan to launder money through time to win a presidency, because, like, today, corruption's just out in the open. Nobody seems to give a fuck. It's just like, okay, it's another day. Yeah, people are corrupt, whatever. We have, I think, some of the CGI plus minus, but I think specifically when they do any kind of CGI where two actors or an actor has to play themselves twice at the same time, the eyesight.
I wrote down that, of course, JCVD's favorite actor to work with is JCVD.
The eye lines are always off. It just looks like, I think even
the perspective, like the forced perspective, is terrible.
They look like
especially in the climax scene.
Yes. Cool. There's so many times, like I said it before, like two of the same matter can't occupy the same space at the same time. So basically, a character that comes from the future to the past can't, like, if I went to the past, I couldn't touch myself because that would cause a chain reaction. There are so many times when it looks like the characters are literally like touching each other, but they're not. And it's like, I don't know. It looks bad when Silver interacts with himself. It looks really bad. The color's off. Everything just looks weird. I think it's really weird that they have a gunfight in the cryo factory and there's all just red exploding barrels, and half of them don't explode even though they're shot like 500 times. It's like a perfect choice for exploding barrels.
I love though. I don't even care about them freezing the dude's arm and him kicking it. Like, that's fine. It looks terrible, but it's fine. It's got a really good, we threw a dummy over like the dummy, like being hurled off a railing is really good looking in this movie. So.
And it lands on its neck and the neck is just then totally like 90-degree angle. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's
a good
great.
look. And the last thing I'll say is like, two things, I guess. JCVD, his hair, it's definitely a choice. It's borderline distracting. Like it's clearly a mullet wig. I
love how you could tell what JCVD you're looking at based off the length of his mullet, because it's just like scruffy as shit when he's 2004 JCVD, and like rookie cop when he's 1994 JCVD.
And I totally understand that you want to have two different looks because they're going to interact with each other at some point. You need to know which one's which, but his hair just, I don't know, it's like cemented on or something. It does not move sometimes, and sometimes it's flopping all over the place. It's great. And the last thing that I'll mention as a dislike for me is, I don't know if you waited till the end to hear the end credits and the song that plays. It's the Smithereens. They cover Time Won't Let Me. It is like the most phoned in cover song of all time at the end. And it's like, it's pretty bad. My God. Yeah. You guys were in like the death throes of your career and this is what you did. Okay, cool. But yeah, that's really all the big dislikes that I had with it, which I think is like pretty equal to what I have for likes, actually.
Yeah, the only other thing, this is more of a nitpick than a dislike. And honestly, most of my dislikes are more nitpicky on this movie. I kind of feel like my likes are kind of nitpicky too, and this is spoiler talk, so if you haven't seen Timecop, you might want to skip ahead like a minute or so on this. But, at the point in the third act when JCVD is back at his home, going to try to he's decided he's going to fix the future at this point, as opposed to break it, I guess. Essentially, there's him, Sloan from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and him again. And at this point, he's already seen future Silva. Well, that's not the character's name, but I don't remember the character's.
That's
future
not the
bad guy
either, but
whatever. Future bad guy interact with like past bad guy, and they just don't physically touch each other, and things are fine. So I don't fully understand why. It seems like the two Jean-Claudes are like working together at points of the third act, even though they're not. I'm not even 100% sure that the past version of Jean-Claude Van Damme is aware that there's a future himself there that's like shooting people. I know he's aware that something's going on, but I don't know if he's aware of what the situation actually is.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand the point of him hiding it. It seems like it would be, if his goal is really to stop this, well, this is right in the beginning of the movie, so we can say this. If his goal is really to stop the murder of his wife from happening, doesn't it seem like it would be beneficial to be like, look, I'm future you can't touch me, but we can talk and coordinate, or you got any walkie-talkies around here or something like that where we can kind of like figure this out? Because, the third act's, for the most part, pretty entertaining. Like, it's a pretty well done sequence in it. But the interaction between those three characters, it's just kind of like, we've already learned that where the line is as far as where like future self and past self interacting becomes a problem. Why the extra hoops just for
why is it so secret?
Confusion. The other thing I want to say that's kind of, this is more funny than anything. So, obviously we get kind of a happy ending and whatever. And it turns out that JCVD pulls up in his like cooler car. this fucking kid comes out and asks him to make hot dogs. And we're like, oh, this is my 10-year-old son that I've never seen before. But this fucker doesn't know shit about this kid. And this kid's gonna be like, oh, you remember my 8th birthday party? He's like, I do not remember your 8th birthday party. I was out barbecuing hot dogs.
Barbecue.
So yeah, I think it's funny that they still brought this. And I know that's a plot point as to, somewhere in the middle, they decided to make Sloane pregnant or whatever, and that's fine. But it's just like they insert this kid in there. It's like he doesn't know who the fuck this kid. It'd be funnier if he was like, "Get away from me, brat."
Who are you?
Right.
Get your hot dog breath away from me.
And speaking of hot dog breath, let's fire up the grill and wrap this up.
I have one last thing I just thought of. I'm sorry. I'm so very sorry.
Sorry.
That end fight scene is so, I don't know if I watched it on Tubi. It looked so dark. Like I could barely tell what was going on like 90% of the time. And I feel like it could have done with a lot of just like boosting or something. It just looked, I don't know.
Where was the helicopter from Lethal Weapon when you need
I know, just to light the whole scene in the rain and everything.
Yeah.
It totally would have worked out.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
I think you went first last week, so I'll go first this week. Well, maybe I don't remember, but anyway, this movie is a half a hot dog. Like this is the reoccurring thought I had both times I watched this movie this week was this isn't great, but I also don't hate this. This is very much so. I mean, if a movie was, aside from all the nudity in this movie, if a movie was ever made to play on like TNT or something like that on repeat, I feel like this is the movie that was made for that. It's entertaining enough. Jean-Claude Van Damme's fine. The premise is really good. Ron Silver's a good bad guy on it. Like, I have no major complaints, but at the same time, it's just not that great a movie. So
yeah,
take that however you want. It's a half a hot dog. That's what I got.
Whose hot dog is this, huh? Is it yours?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on it back and forth, but I had a lot of problems with this movie when I originally saw it. I think a lot of it probably revolved around more of like the what ifs and the paradoxes that surrounded the thing. Because I don't know if it's very obvious.
We could debate that all day.
Yeah, I don't know if it's very obvious, but I sometimes overanalyze things. I don't know if you've noticed that about me, but I kept thinking about like, when I watched it this time, at least, I kept thinking, I don't know why I had so many issues with the movie, because it does have a lot of really fun ideas, a lot of fun fights. And I think all the what ifs and all the paradoxes that it introduces right now, it kept me, thinking of like, regardless of how messy and how much it didn't make sense at times, it was fun. If you just sit back and you just let it kind of wash over you and you don't overanalyze it too much, if you do that, it starts to fall apart really quickly. And if you just kind of let it roll over you, it's a great 90s action flick. They lean really heavily on these super flawed effects, which we've said if they remade it, it would probably be, they could probably do a lot better than they did, because they didn't do very good this time around. But if you can shut your brain off, watch it for what it is, I think it's a lot of fun. For me, this is a solid half hot dog movie. With a lot of these things, if you were under the influence or if you're with friends, I'm sure that this is like a howling good time, because it's just so many ridiculous things happen. Jean-Claude Van Damme's accent is always fun to imitate and do your worst impression of, but it's watching it stone cold sober, definitely just a half hot dog movie, but I could see it being just, like I said, like a hoot if you're watching it with your friends and you're just, hey, it's Saturday night, we're going to get together and watch some shitty movies. You could do a lot worse than this. Definitely a half a hot dog from me.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is almost the definition of what a half hot dog is.
And definitely a palate cleanser from the last.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have one inserted in here. We're going to do Green Room inserted in here, so it doesn't really count. But at the time of our recording this, we are
coming off of RoboCop 3, Clerks 3, and He-Man. Yeah, this is
we
like
definitely needed a palate cleanser.
So,
yeah. Timecop would do again. A++. Timecop would ride again.
Nothing cleanses your palate quite like the salty discharge of Timecop.
Correct. The time discharge.
Well, if you have a time machine and would like to travel back in time to check out some of our previous episodes, you can do that all over the place. We're on every major podcast platform. We are available at yourunpodcast.com. While you're there, please do check out one of the other shows. You can go to our site, which is crap.town. Everything's available there as well. And if you would like to support us, you could also join our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Dewey Pod Monster. Thank you to anyone who's already joined, and our content's all there as well. Additionally, you can follow us on all the social medias. We're at Dewey Pod Monster, with the exception of Blue Sky, where we are available at crap.town. And Last and certainly not least, we do have our movie night coming up at the end of the month. We'll be down at Batch Brewing on May 28th. We're going to be showing the movie Masters of the Universe, the movie that I absolutely love so much and just cannot wait to watch again. Come hang out with us, have a beer, have a hot dog, watch a silly movie. It's going to be a good time, and it all starts at 7 o'clock on May 28th at Batch Brewing. Sean, after I failed that like 3 times, what am I forgetting?
Well, I was just going to add, if you want to watch any of the things that we talked about earlier in this episode, they will be linked in the show notes. You can access the show notes. You might be thinking, what the fuck is a show note? You can access the show note in your podcast player. You can go to crap.town and find them. All the show notes for all our old episodes are in there. And I guess the point I was trying to get to is we link all the stuff that we talk about in the show notes. Most of the time it's free. And even though we have the Patreon, that's not going to change that. But if you go to our show notes, you can find links to all the stuff that we talked about. Some of those will be paid links. Unfortunately, some of the things you just can't get for free. That's just the way the world works. Go back in time and change it if you want it done that way. But you can go to our show notes. If they are not free, they'll more than likely say Amazon. If you click them, if you click those links, they will take you to Amazon if you buy those products. Even if you don't buy those products, but you follow the links and you buy something from Amazon, we get a small cut of that. And that's a great way to support the show. The other great way to support the show, other than what John already mentioned, is to go to your podcast player or platform of choice and leave a review. That's great. That helps somehow, and it somehow gets the podcast in front of other people's eyeballs, and other people's eyeballs are great things to use to look at things. If you also want to follow me on social media, I am exclusively on Blue Sky. I am at internalbleeding.crap.town. You can find me there. You can find my posts. I don't post very often, but when I do, they sure are a doozy. John, back to you.
That's it. That's all the Timecop we got for this week. We'll be back next week talking about a horror movie. So we'll see you next week. Swap, Butthorns. Cheers.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
I figured you want Grease talk for whatever.
The Grease Cast. Welcome to the Grease Cast. This is Bob Greasy.
The Greasy Pod Monster. There we go.
What's Brian Greasy? That was the son, right? Bob Greasy's the dad.
I thought it was the other way around, but you could be right. I'm not sure.
Nah, whatever. Fuck them. Fuck those greasy bastards.
What show is this? This fucker doesn't know shit about this kid, and this kid's gonna be like, "Oh, you remember my 8th birthday party?" He's like, "I do not remember your 8th birthday party. I was out barbecuing hot dogs."
Never has a man sounded so confident. Imagine Windows 95 with a guy getting his arm kicked off. That's what Timecop looked like.